Hello, everyone. I'm Gemma Starr, and welcome to another episode of Heart Warriors. Thank you for being here. Heart Warriors is a series that I've been guided and inspired to do thanks to my energetic connection with Kata. Kata is the sacred masculine site in Central Australia, very close to Uluru, our sacred feminine site. What I'm here to do is to welcome our guests and ask them to articulate their journey into the heart. Men who are already walking the heart warrior path and are well on their way to healing, health, abundance, freedom, and love. I unpack their stories and ask them to share their insights, their tips, their wisdom, tools and practices with other men walking the path, and of course us women who are walking right there by their side. Our guest today is a man called AaronXjesse, and he is currently over there in Mexico. And Aaron likes to think of himself as someone who enjoys helping our ascension, bringing clarity in mind, body, and soul to what and who we are, starting with food. He's fully dedicated to becoming the best version of himself and integrating as he goes, also teaching others who are searching. So I'm really looking forward now to hearing Aaron's story and walking the path into the heart. Enjoy. Hello, Aaron. Welcome to Heart Warriors.
Hi, how are you?
I'm really well, thank you. So you're currently in Mexico, is that right? Hanging out with Charlie Freak and Justin Carpenter and Colleen. How is it over
I,
there in Mexico?
it's beautiful. Yeah, that down here in Mexico, it is a beautiful weather. We got about 88 degrees during the day, about 54 at night. So the weather's been absolutely awesome. And then down here with, the Charlie, Colleen, and the Shire with all their animals, most of the days I'm over there helping them. And yeah, and me and Justin are staying together in a rental not too far away in town. So it's been just awesome going to the market in the morning, grabbing the fresh produce and, just kind of just dabbling in a little bit of Babylon, but then escaping into the Shire and just engulfing myself with that world over there. So yeah.
Oh, sounds idyllic. Love it. Hope to get over there myself one day.
Yeah.
Um, so let's talk about Aaron X Jesse. How would you describe yourself? Who is the man inside?
Well, as a couple years ago, like how I see myself now is just a person that has found the direction of the purpose of why we're here, or finding out that direction, really the ascension process, and just taking the steps to get there, and just in a holistic way. So really, the gnosis from Charlie, learning from Josh X, Santos Bonacci, those have kind of been, the route, I would say, just a few years ago. I fortunately had a very good upbringing with my parents. Their hippie parents, had garden, kind of lived on a little small town for a little bit. I was in Vegas for about 30 years after that, but my parents made a really good effort to keep us tied to Mother Nature. So always was in tune to going to the lake and just walking around, the desert or whatever, and just appreciating the birds, flying by. So it's just gave me a really good leg up, I guess, in some of this stuff when we're, awakening, as a lot of people are labeling it, to this gnosis and kind of the purpose that we're here. So, um, so yeah, so it's
Good.
just I got my dogs barking. I apologize. There
Oh,
must
that's
be
fine. I can't
somebody
hear
out
them.
there.
I got mine
Good, good.
always sitting on my bed. So if I jump up and down like that, it's just him jumping up and down as I sit
Yeah,
here. All good, all part of the show. Dogs are very welcome. There, I heard that.
yeah.
All good. Um, okay, well, that childhood sounds pretty idyllic, but did you have any challenges that shaped you, and what were they?
Yeah, like I guess all of our parents, or they kind of shape us as we grow. Um, the I moved out when I was about 16 years old, about actually 17 years old, a little bit after I got my driver's license. That would be in the teenage years. I think what really did shape me, and this is kind of an interesting story that just came to my gnosis the last time I went on a extended fast, was I had a mushroom experience at 7 years old. Again, my parents were hippies, and they raised me and my sister. It was just the two of us, very independent. They took us everywhere they went. So I guess from what I gathered or what I've remembered so far is, they were gone one night, and I don't know. I was looking around for some. I don't know. I ended up having some of these things, and then I do remember the experience a little bit of just, falling asleep on the couch and my parents coming home and them sounding like the Charlie Brown teacher, and if I had to go get firewood that night, and it was like 2 feet of snow outside, and I kind of remember like just floating out there. But what happened, in my mind, I'm not sure, but that definitely did open a lot of these gates that allowed me to see things in a different way. And mentally in my mind, and then physically, I've always kind of had this what I've always called a layover on my existence, and I've gotten really used to kind of seeing it. But it is like when you're on mushrooms, where you kind of get the visuals, kind of things are just moving around. From a very young age, I've had that openness constantly, so I've been having to peer through that, and it's been very good. I've been very sensitive with energies my whole life. I could pick up on other people's energy, and not knowing what that was, and not really having direction with it. Didn't really know what to do with it, other than I'm just kind of weird, and I kind of was really introverted, and find my own little hole, because I really didn't get along with a lot of people. I was very friendly and stuff. It just, and everybody liked me. It was just I pulled myself back. I pulled myself away from it. It wasn't because other people didn't like me. It was just me seeing things in a different way. So that would probably be the most memorable or change thing that that I could remember, other than like some small stuff. But that was like the biggest marker for me, that I know that's kind of paved this path to make it really easy to decide to do some of this stuff with the food and the gnosis, and just taking these modalities with meditation, and going within very seriously. And I find a lot of peace with that, and I find what Charlie would call downloads, or information that I just don't know where it comes from, but I know it's right. I know it's true, because it was gifted to me. I didn't think about it. It wasn't like I was searching for it. It was just like, here, have some of this. And I always referred to God as the creator, because I pulled myself away from the religion. My parents weren't very religious, but they did believe in God, and I threw the baby out with the bathwater, as Charlie would say, with the whole thing. But now getting back into it, I know what God is. I know everything is magnetism. So knowing about the scalar wave and magnetism, and then finding out about God, it's like all these connections really started coming together. And like I said, I can only really thank, or like, put it back onto that mushroom trip when I was about 7 years old, which it's just bizarre, because I didn't remember it for a good portion of my life. And until I found some purity with my food, the mental pure clarity came. And that's where I know where the doorway to this ascension process is, through the food, our vessel that was gifted to us, that we chose down here to experience this, is our starship. And until we clean that starship up, we're not going to be able to see this reality as clear as we should. And as we go through these purities, as we take our small steps, our slow and steady wins the race, just whatever it is, that clarity of the mind starts opening this up. And that's really what this is coming down to, is we're manifesting every bit of this reality. Everything that we're walking through, we are the ones that's manifesting it. Right now, we're sharing a reality together, and we've manifested this together. So we have these shared manifestations with each other, but ultimately we are in control of our world. We are in control of our destiny through the manifestations. If we could hold it in our mind, we could hold it in our hand. And that's been something that I felt at a young age, and really didn't know how things were happening, like surprise things. But coming to know now, it's this manifestation. Our mind is what's creating this world collectively, this unity consciousness. Collectively, we're holding this whole thing together because God wants us to have or God wants an experience. He allowed us to share his experience through us as light beams, and have this experience here. So yeah, that's a little bit. So
Oh, I love it. You're speaking my language. Love, love, love this stuff. Yeah, I'd like to go back and open up the conversation about mushrooms, because it's something I haven't done, but a lot of people are interested, and a lot of the men I've interviewed have gone down this plant medicine route. So I'll open it up because I know people watching want to get some more information. So my first question is, have you done it again since you were 7? And can you please open that discussion up for people who maybe have never tried and are interested in trying? Like, what can people expect, and how should they go about exploring this journey?
yeah, to answer the first question, yeah, I have done it after 7 years old. Through the teenage years, I experimented. It was more on a recreational kind of side of things. I've done acid and mushrooms, and it was more recreational. So it was kind of fun and enjoyable, and I wasn't didn't go into it with the purpose. Any advice that I would give now for somebody that would want to do it, um, I would definitely bring it into more of a medicine kind of realm where you have a lot of intention, because I do know the power of it. I do know the doors that it's opening up now. And I wouldn't recommend, people do what they want, right? If people are doing it for recreational purposes, there's nothing wrong with it. Just if I were to recommend, I would look for like a shaman, not really a shaman, but somebody that's done it before that could guide them if they are wanting to do it for the purpose of opening, this doorway, or kind of peering into what our capabilities are. Because we are able to achieve this state of mind without mushrooms. It's the waste. It's everything else that matters to us. It's our thoughts. It's our food. It's everything weighing us down that doesn't allow us to see this as clear. So I would definitely tread towards it very lightly and carefully. And then, having somebody that has had experience inside of a more of a mushroom journey, where you bring intention to it. You have somebody that gives it space and holds the boundaries, just like the divine feminine and divine masculine, where the divine masculine is the border. It's the glass cup holding the water. It's the one that's supporting the construct. It's the one that's going to give it boundaries. And then the divine feminine would be the water inside, would be, or it would be the movement inside of that, would be the feelings and stuff. So having somebody honoring that space and allowing whoever's journeying to come into that space and opening that door up, because we are making a true connection with earthly mother and heavenly father through these mushrooms and through this plant medicine. So we really got to honor that space. So that's where I like, if I were to do it nowadays, and I've done it probably about a year ago with somebody that's done it a lot, has worked with it and is more in tune to it. And it's a way different experience, because you can go into it with intention, whether if it's want to work through shadow work, or if it's something that we're just trying to do it for the first time. There's different ways that these people could um, put on these areas, or this open this space up to allow this to be a really pure and growing time, because that's what we're doing. We wanting to grow. We won't want to self-medicate and just kind of numb out and waste time. I mean, I guess you could do that, but to me it seems pointless. So for me, it would be really getting into what the plant medicines do, and what they're for. They're for a little peer into this space, a little bit of purity that, that we didn't really know before. So a guided one would be great. And I don't know if you had a third question, but that would be where I would recommend somebody that hasn't done it before. And what to expect. It's hard to say what to expect, just from the plant medicine itself. It's a very euphoric feeling. For me, I do get more, I call it traces or visuals, where not things are like popping out like a little red snowman, but it's just whatever you're looking at now, like the plants would start to breathe. You would start to see this. For me, it's the breath. You could see the expansion and contraction of things. You could see the slow movement of the trees. You could see it almost like talk to you in a way that's more of an expression than a physical sound that you're hearing from it. So and it really depends, what else you could experience from it is, if you have a lot of, shadow work, if you haven't really dove into this, and, you went down this plant medicine, that does allow this space to open up. It does allow those things to surface. So if you're not ready for them, some people could have what they would call a bad trip, or they would have something that would be uncomfortable for them. And if somebody's not there to guide them through it, they could run out the door and go to the hospital and try to look for some type of outside source, when it's just really needs to be contained and worked through. Because if you have somebody that has done it before, you have this guide that will allow you to talk through you and ask you these questions of what's happening, and give you the advice that you need, because you are there. You're not totally disconnected where we don't know what's going on. So you have this a sense of awareness, but then the guiding with the person that's been working with it will allow you to work through them, so you can get through a lot of shadow work very quickly, or a lot of the deep stuff that you hasn't really surfaced. If you go into the journey with these intentions, saying, okay, well, I know I have some things that I haven't been able to see, let's open those doors to that, and let's allow them to surface. Then the whole trip is around that, or the whole journey is around that, that space, and usually there's a lot of music involved, and candles, and you have an altar. It's very put together, so it has a purpose, and it's just not abstract and kind of just loose ended. And that's what I found is the difference is, recreational, it's just kind of loose ended, and it really depends on who you're with, and your experience is going to feed off of theirs, and might not really know what's going on, other than, yeah, it was kind of cool, and we did some mushrooms, and yeah, but my what I feel that they're really for is to open up these doorways in our mind, to give us a glimpse of what is possible, because it is draining. It does take a lot of energy away from our body, and we do need to recharge afterwards. So there's food involved, and fasting before it, and there's a lot of preparation to do it right. I feel, to do it right, going into it and coming out of it. I do know that other plant medicines, they have that same, like ayahuasca, it's the same thing, where, you fast for a certain period before you go in. And, some people go in for multiple trips, or go in for multiple journeys, or whatever it is. And then they replenish after they come out. And I would say that I would treat mushrooms the same way, with that as well. Just be very intentful, and, don't, I mean, if you want to do it just to see what it feels like, yeah, grab some, but yeah, I would say that you'd be wasting some mushrooms and time. So
Oh, wonderful insights. Thank you, Aaron. So many directions we can go. I'm very interested in what you said, that you can attain the state that mushrooms give you in other ways, because as I said, I haven't done that journey, but I feel, I can see exactly, what you were describing there if I go into deep meditation. What else can you say about that comment that you gave?
oh, well, as far as our body's capabilities, I know that once we become as pure as we can and as clean as we can, and in control of our mind and our state of being, that we could actually um, put ourselves into these states that the mushrooms would bring us into. So it'd be a lot of work. It'd be a thing that you would have to learn how to do, because you don't want to stay in those all the time. But that awareness that you get when you're on mushrooms, we'll be able to achieve ourselves. Just, it just is, I know that at one point in my life, I'm going to figure out how to self levitate and move myself through the space. I don't know when. It could be 5 years, 10 years, 100 years, 300 years. I have no idea. I don't plan on moving away from this existence. We are a regenerative being. We are the regenerative man. So I'm going to choose to live and not die anymore. So I'm going to push the limits of or I'm going to challenge myself to push the limits of what our age limit can exceed and what we can actually do. So the sky is the limit. What our imagination holds is our limitation. Like I said earlier, if we could hold it in our mind, we could hold it in our hand. Well, I know I'm going to fly. I just don't know when.
Oh, I love this. And we can bring, you've opened up the conversation around aging too. I'm a big one now for not celebrating birthdays, for staying, exactly where I am or going backwards. I think we'll all go to about the age of 33 in the Ascension. And as you said, immortal beings, we've been so programmed by the Matrix to age and to die, at 70, 80, 90, So have you got anything to add to that?
Um, well, other than changing my food, knowing that, I mean, prior to this food change, our cells are reproduce, and the longest cell in our body takes 7 years. The shortest cell in our body takes 11 months. So if every cell in my body will regenerate in 7 years, I could live forever. So that's what I'm in the process of doing, purifying my body, living as clean as I can with what the fuel is, the most optimal fuel for my body, which is glucose. Glucose is what our body's looking for fuel. And if I could remove the dis-ease from my body, just the uneasiness from all these other dead foods, and fuel my body correctly, my body's going to have to work as least as it can and heal itself. So hopefully within the 7 years or sometime like that, my whole entire body will regenerate. And if I keep that process up, I will have a regenerative body that will just live forever. And then I will take back that choice. Again, we have the power, even, Trump gave us our power back, but we hold the power to live or die. Society doesn't push that. Society tells us that we're going to die at 60, 70, 80. I mean, now it's like you live past 70. It's like, wow, it's like you're living a long time. And I don't feel old in my mind. And I don't know why my body has to start deteriorating, but now I do, because it was the food I was eating. Also, the thoughts that I was having. Our thoughts are more powerful than the food. And that's why I said our food is the doorway. But the food, to take on a food journey, we have to have some mental strength. We have to have some mental awareness. And if we don't appreciate that, and we don't take the time to balance those things out, then, our mental awareness becomes a burden. So the food allows the purity of the body, which in turns kind of it allows the purity of the mind. Those two things together are the most powerful thing that we have, because that is us. Our mind, our body, and our spirit is us. We're connected to one. So we have this observer portion of our body. How I look at it is, we got this vehicle, which is our physical body. We have this driver, which is kind of like our ego or our mind that likes to think a lot, always knows what it thinks it knows what it's doing. But then we have this observer that's really in charge of everything. And that's our true being. That's our true soul, our soul. That's who we are. Like when we die and this vessel goes away, we still alive. We reincarnate and come back again. But the vessel, our soul is who we are. So if we could move through this space as the true observer, why everything is happening for us and not to us. And we choose to interact with what is upon us, because we're in control of this manifestation. We're in control of these energies. We're in control of what thought forms that we want to entertain in our mind. It's the conditioning, it's the MK Ultra that gets us out of control, thinking that we are these problems, thinking that we are our past, thinking that, identifying with the opinions of others. That's one of the worst things, is just having opinions of others, and then people taking it personally and identifying with it and thinking that that's them just because somebody else said it. It's BS. It's bullshit. It's not, it's somebody else's opinions, and everybody has them, and they're worthless. Our direct knowledge is what we need to go back to. It's our direct knowledge is what we know. We don't know anything unless we have the direct knowledge. Unless I physically, I know what this is, a copper water bottle, like having that direct knowledge of having that experience through mushrooms, or having, my own experience through the food. I have that direct knowledge, and I could speak very strongly about it. If I'm speaking about somebody else's opinions and they're not true, then I'm just as bad as lying. I'm not taking, I might as well just be a liar, because I'm not taking that time to find that direct knowledge. Santos put it together really, really good, where like me and you know each other, and I come over to your house and I look in your garage, and you have a red car, and I go home, and I talk to Susie, and Susie asked me what color your car is, and I said, oh, it's just a red car. Gemma has a red car, and it's beautiful and everything. And then she goes over to your house, and she looks at the car, and she's like, it's not red, it's blue. Well, I have color blindness, so it was red to me, but it was blue to her. Until that direct knowledge was had, then the truth didn't come out. But to me, it's still a red car. To her, it's a blue car. Until we have that direct knowledge, the direct, we don't know. And until then, then we know. So having that direct knowledge takes out any assumptions, takes out any unclarity, or any room for errors or just misinterpretations, or whatever characteristics it might be. Just in conversations, people take things differently. When somebody means something, somebody says something and they take it differently, and then they pass it along. And it's like that circle game that you played when you're a kid. It starts with a blue ball, then it comes back a yellow
Elephant.
unicorn. It's like, yeah, elephant, or however that is,
Chinese whispers, yeah.
yeah. Then you kind of track it back and see how it changed, and you learn from that. So yeah, direct knowledge is where we need to go back to. We all need to have these experiences for ourselves. We at this point, we have beautiful people to look into, with Charlie, with yourself, and Josh, and Justin, and Eugene. I mean, just everybody that's really taken this really seriously, and wanted to gain that direct knowledge, and then share it with others. And that's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing. We're building Middle Earth. We're going down this. We're paving the way. We're, how I put it, we're at the precipice. We're at the point of this tip. There's no road ahead of us. We're paving it. What does it look like ahead of us? I don't know. I know what it looks like for me today, and that's what I'm gifted. God gifts us now. He doesn't gift us yesterday, because yesterday already happened, and he doesn't gift us tomorrow, because tomorrow's always coming. The time that we have is now, and we got to take advantage of it. And what we do in each and every moment is what's important.
I love it. Thank you, Aaron. Um, we will talk about a deep dive into the food aspect later on, because it keeps coming up, but I'd like to touch briefly on your rock bottom moment as an adult. I mean, until now, it seems like you had a good childhood, and you're sort of in a great space now. Was there a rock bottom moment that you had to spiral up from?
Yeah. The rock bottom moment was probably 2019, 2018, when um, when I was losing my family and my kids. My wife, with this gnosis, she actually brought the breakdown of the Cabal A to Z to me. We were watching it. She made it about halfway through. I thought we were kind of on the same page with what was going on, and I didn't pick up on the signals that she really didn't didn't really hit her the same way. So I was sharing with her with this gnosis. Secretly, she was, or unbeknownst to me, she was talking to her sisters. Um, Quickly, it moved into her calling the FBI. I got labeled crazy. Took me to court, took the kids away from me, and and left me with me myself. My day that I remember was outside of my 5 acres. It was kind of after I heard that what was going on. And I gave it my all. I just looked up to God and I said, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I have no clue what I'm doing anymore. I am not in control. I have no idea. And just that situation was definitely where the rock bottom is, just knowing that my wife and kids are gonna be parting from my life and my existence. So
Okay. May I ask, are you in contact with your kids now? And how old are they?
I do have contact with my youngest son. He is 7. I don't have contact with the other 3, which are 22, 16, and no, actually 22, 19, and 16 or 15, somewhere around there. So yes and no, because they were a little bit older. They kind of went the same way as their mom, and it's just kind of separated from there. I do have past relationships, and that's where my oldest comes from, and that separated before, but just not having just not having the family. I was married once, and in my in my time with her, and I wasn't going to get married again. 100% dedicated, always loyal, always gave everything to my relationships. But just the differences of upbringings. The way I look at it now is the MK Ultra programming, is how deep one has that programming and how one doesn't. I was really easy to let go of the ties of society and try to find out what this really means in my own way. And she wanted to keep those ties, and she wanted to keep that construct going, and I was moving away from it. So that really, parted ways with that, and that whole situation, I would definitely label my rock bottom. That really changed a lot of it. I was definitely blessed. I really honored her space. I really, just I knew what thing I saw it. I saw it before it was happening. I saw, kind of what was going to happen. So I just really honored it. I gave her everything, every dime. I gave her everything because she was willing to stay inside of that that society, wanting the jobs and everything. I wanted to kind of pull away from it. So, and she had the kids. So all child support, all that finances went her way and made it as easy as possible for her to do so. Cause that's at the end of the day, she does have my kids and she's a wonderful mom. She's an absolute wonderful mom. She cares very, very deeply about her kids and she'll do anything for them. And through that experience, I realized how much she would do for them. Yeah, it's a different thought than I thought what was right for them, but that's not my reality. Her reality is she is doing everything right and she'll protect those kids. So honoring that space and making sure that whatever I could sacrifice and give to that space, I'm willing to do, because I know God has me. Don't have to worry about anymore. There's no more fear. Yeah, certain things would make it easier here and there, but at the end of the day, I know he has me, and I don't have to worry about these trivial things that I once worried about before, that pushed me to get, the good job and to dedicate myself to the work, to make sure that I could provide well for my family. And I still want to do that. I still would do that if it was presented to me, but God had a different path. And those were the tipping points. And those were the times that really allowed me to honor my space as well and not live in this false reality for myself, thinking that, to stay into this construct when at a young age, I felt it pulling me away, but I kept on going back in because that's what was only offered to me. That's what the offering was a job and a house. And I lived in America. So it's like, do the American dream. And I bought a house when I was 19 years old, so I was like, I did everything. I got the good job. I got a wife. I got the kids. I got a good, like I got a good paycheck. We go on vacations. We do all this stuff. We do everything that the society says that we're supposed to do, but there was this hollowness, until this rock bottom, until this you catastrophe that you're talking about. And everybody's gonna hit it. You have to lose it all to know what you're gonna gain. To have the appreciation to go down this. And that sounds kind of harsh and sounds kind of different, but we have to let go of the world to inherit the earth. And that's the difference, is we got to let go of the world to inherit the earth. And once we inherit earthly mother and heavenly father and embody it, I mean, I get chills just saying that, because it's so us. It's who we are. And they've pulled us away so far away from who we are. We don't know who we are anymore. And we're identifying as these experiences that we've had, but we are a child of God. We are a part of earthly mother. Until we know who those our real mother and father are and honor them, we're going to be lost. And sometimes it does take us, a drastic catastrophe. And, I wouldn't advise people to go down my journey and stuff, because it is hard. And it did take a lot of strength within myself not to break down and not to just kind of go within and lose myself, because that inner strength, it was some hard days. And I know there's not everybody could go through that, but I know I could. And that's why God presented that to me and said, God's not going to give me any more than I can handle. He's not going to give any of us any more than we can handle. We might not think so in the moment, and it might be hard for us to see that in the moment, but that's the truth of the matter.
So good, Aaron. I just have to pause one moment. I absolutely loved what you said there, Aaron. Now, a lot of men have been in your situation, are in your situation where they've been estranged from their children, whatever age they may be. Can you please speak directly to those men and give them a message of hope? How do they get through that?
Like I said earlier, believing that God is only presenting to us what we need to see to learn. Nothing happens to us. We're not victims in this reality. So God is only going to be presenting things for us to learn. And it's for us to see those learning experiences for that. With the kids, it's definitely hard, because we have attachments to them. They're a part of us, and we want the best for them. But we're not in control of this existence. God is. And once we have that, once we really, really embrace that, knowing that, okay, God, this relationship and my kids, and they might be pulled away from me, but I know that you have a bigger plan that I could see. With my limited perspective, I don't see your plan. So my advice would be just to trust in God. Trust that He's going to be the one that's in control, that He's going to be the one that's going to it's going to lead you exactly where you need to be. And if it is in the space where you are separated from your kids, and if it is in the space where just the physical space becomes more distance, there's ways still communicate. There's still ways of having a relationship with them. And there's still ways of honoring, the mother's journey and the kid's journey, because that's what it's really about, is honoring your journey, knowing that God is only being presented to you the things that you need to learn, and He's only going to give you the things that you could handle. And the same thing with your wife or your ex-wife or your, let's say, spouse or partner, or your kids as well, even no matter what age. This has already been scripted out. God, it's all already scripted. So one, just don't worry. The biggest thing that we could do is worry. These thought forms that hold us down. If we spend time worrying, we're not spending time connected to God. Because when we're in fear, we're not connected to God. So it's really knowing that, as crazy as sometimes it looks, having our kids away from us or in situations where it's not ideal, there's a reason for it. And finding that balance and finding what that is, you know, that's what's being presented is there's an imbalance, and we need to find a balance again. So it's really just trusting in God, knowing that he's only going to be presenting things that we could handle, and only going to be presenting things for us to learn from, because we are not victims.
So good. Thank you, Aaron. I love what you said about finding a meaning for it all. I know that was a huge part of my journey, and I found that meaning through learning about reincarnation and soul agreements. Is that your understanding? And do you see that as fate, destiny? Can our soul agreements be changed? Let's open up this conversation. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, what a great question. Yeah, well, God gives us free will. He does gift us a choice. But it's in with caution, because until we actually give our free will back to God, we still have some learning to do, because we think that we're in control making these choices. We think that we're in control with these choices that we have to, that are being presented. But if we find this alignment with God and we allow his free will to come through us, then we could be guided in a much different path. And it might look and feel a lot of different ways that are different. And we will start becoming more attuned to it, and it will start feeling more natural. But it's really giving, finding the alignment, and the clarity of what that is and what that feels like to feel that alignment with God, and know that in the times that I am and in the times that I'm not. That's why there's karma and dharma, because we're all energy beings. We're all frequency. This is a pulse reality. It's not a particulate reality. It's not, we're not all these little atoms, and it's a pulse reality. It's all revolves around magnetism, the scalar wave. That's why the rise and the fall. I mean, it's our head of Aries and our feet in Pisces. It's the summer. It's everything. It's the scalar wave magnetism we find in everything. And that's part of this too, is knowing that God is this magnetic energy that never stops. Like you have a magnet and you stick it on a fridge. When does it fall off? Never. Never. God is always with us. He's never not there. We're the one that has turned our back on him. So having this understanding that this pulse, and slowing our body down, and feeling this breath that we have, and feeling, accepting the breath of God, accepting these things that are gifted to us, you know, um, allow us to feel that alignment, and it's really just, it's slowing ourselves down to really know this experience and get out of the busyness, and finding that stillness and silence, finding that clarity of our mind, finding the space where we observe the thoughts that are running through our mind, or that are passing by, these thought forms. We observe them. Then we get to choose if we want to interact with them, whether we want to take them on, whether we want to have that conversation with that person, or that conversation, that choice that's in our mind, or we just say, no, I'm allowing God to present things for me, and then I'm going to take that path.
Love it, Aaron. Love it. You spoke earlier about, you mentioned the divine masculine and divine feminine. I'd love to open this topic and, first of all, get your definition of divine masculinity and divine femininity, and then we'll see where it flows.
Well, it's an interesting one. Well, I could pull, I guess you could pull in and out of it far, but so the divine masculine, like I said earlier, is the container. It's the stability. So it would be like the glass that holds the water, or it'd be the canvas that holds the painting. You could even find it in our vowels and our consonants. Our consonants would be our masculine. Those are the ones that don't change. The vowels are the ones that give it expressions, and those are the ones that have the flavor, that give the consonants flavor inside of words. In music, it's the musical notes that are the divine feminine. It's the bars, and the structure is the divine masculine. So the divine masculine is the stability, is the strength, and the divine feminine is the texture and the flow, the experience, the emotion. Our vessel. And each one of us, the divine masculine, divine feminine, doesn't mean a male or female. It doesn't mean anything. We all have embodied this divine masculine and feminine. We're just not in tune with it. Don't know what it does and know what it feels like. Can't say everybody, but in society, they don't teach us this. So we all need to find our own divine masculine, where we need to be strong, where we need to have that stability. But then we also need to find out where that love, care, and compassion, that flavor, that emotion, where that comes in, and find balance with it. So hopefully that's a
Yeah.
good definition, because for me, I see it in all things, because that's what it is. It is in everything. It is all in all expressions. And then how to embody it, and you know you know it's a definitely, that's why we have this experience, is to really find out these balances, this kundalini rising inside of us, this divine masculine and divine feminine, this Adam and Eve, this difference in our capabilities that we have, and finding that balance, because balance is key. But what are we balancing? We're balancing a divine masculine and divine feminine inside.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I love how you brought different images into it. I always see, because I do a lot of writing about this, I always see it and feel it as the masculine is like the river banks, and the with the direction and the support and protection, and the feminine is the flow, the current, the movement, the creation. So yeah, I love your images of that you brought in. Okay, so let me rephrase the question, as in, we're in the end of 2022 and moving into 2023. What is a healthy man, let's say, in a gender role? Masculinity, I feel, has been there's been a lot of focus from the Matrix on stripping men of the divine masculine aspects, emasculating it, and at the same time, masculizing women. And the whole thing's become distorted. So, what's your perception of a healthy man in this time that we're going through?
Well, like you said, like you just said, society has stripped our identity away from us, and they really want all of us to be just these raging, stabbing penises, just take control and have no thought, no care, no compassion inside of us. That's how crazy our society, how complacent. It's really how complacent we have all become, from not really knowing and doing something about this stuff. So a healthy a healthy man in this 2022 going into 2023 would really find, and this would probably be true to females as well, but the masculine would be really finding that balance, and finding where that love, care, and compassion needs to come in, because we inherently, most of us men naturally have the ability to be very strong and structured, and very black and white, and it's this way or not this way, and very rigid. And that rigidity doesn't allow the feminine to exist. And to be healthy is to have balance. So a healthy man would be finding the balance of their divine feminine, where they can see themselves softening up a little bit, where they can see themselves adding a little more love, care, and compassion in the things that they do, and how they treat themselves. It's not really the out there; it's really the in there. If it's not true within, it's not going to be true without. So it's really finding that divine masculine inside, or that divine feminine inside, and really giving ourselves a big hug, really loving and caring for ourselves in a really feminine way, where we are vulnerable, where we do let our guard down. We do let this rigidity of this shell of, you know, my father, I remember when I was a kid, he's like, oh, men don't cry, don't be a sissy boy, and that shapes us at a young age, where it's, even our pair of rents, they were part of society. So they have their structure, and all that stuff comes from the teachings and, the MK Ultra beforehand. So I have no ill will towards anybody and my father and my upbringing, because I've had a beautiful one of its ups and downs. But a true, a healthy man in this world would really just finding that balance and that awareness that I can be soft and loving inside to myself. I can appreciate this emotion if I have it. I can honor that space if that emotion comes up, and I don't need to hide it. I don't need to shove it down like it doesn't exist and come out of like, no, it's not there. But it is, because that's who we are. God has gifted us this balance inside of us, this this divine feminine and masculine inside of us. And it's the energies that we push down, that that make us be numb to the divine feminine that's inside of us. So it's really honoring the space inside first, before then we could share it without the outside space.
I love that, Aaron, because, yeah, of course, as within, so without, right? And, so many of us start by trying to change our outside world before we realize that once we change our inside world on a quantum humanity level, the outside world aligns with our inside world. And that's how we change the world, by changing our world. A lot of men are feeling overwhelmed at the moment. And I love what you said about starting with this inside world. So how does a man, let's say a typical scenario where he's feeling very attacked by society, by let's say wounded energy out there in the collective, in his family, how does he drop those defenses, which is needed to be able to enter his heart and go inside? Where can he start connecting with that inside world?
Stop thinking about it.
Mm.
It's way easier said than done. Is
Mm.
stop worrying about it. We are not victims. Just recognizing when we're in victim mode and when we're in victor mode. And if there's any time where there's worry, if there's any time there's a doubt, anytime that there's fear, anytime that we feel like we're a victim or we're a worthless sinner, we could even go back to that.
Mm.
That word, that's just the way it is. It just, I just have a black cloud over my head. Anytime that those things come in, is start recognizing it, because it's definitely a lot easier said on my side now than when you're in the middle of it, because I do know how heavy those things could get. And there's days that was very heavy for me. But what got me out of it was giving no thought, knowing that God's not going to give me anything I can't handle. He has this already scripted. What am I here worrying about it for? Worrying is the workings of the ego. Worrying is the workings of the left brain, that dying brain, that Canaanite side of us. That's the downward dissension spiral that leads nowhere other than down. So just knowing that this split reality is inside of us, knowing that this choice that we have is inside of us, that we have the choice to give our energy to that ego, or we have that choice of giving it to our higher self, our able, and knowing that we're not a victim, finding that victor, finding that space that allows us to receive the breath of God, receive that breath and know that he's got us. Because when we're in another state, it's a downward spiral, and that's not where we're going. One could choose that, and that's their catastrophe, and they're going to have to pick themselves up, and everybody's looks a little bit different. But I encourage everybody that it's knowing that we are not victims, knowing that everything is being presented for us to learn from, and it's our choices that got us where we're at. So until we take that self-responsibility, because that's another part of victimhood is, oh, it's not me. I didn't do this. It's them. I don't have to work on anything. It's them. They're the one that's wrong. Until we own the space, knowing that, no, I put myself in this position. These are my choices that have got me here. So it's really recognizing it, taking the time to separate yourself, stop identifying with the situation, which again is hard, but this is the tool. Is it this small step that we take, these little steps that we create for ourselves. So it's whether it's listening to me or listening to other videos from Gemma, whatever it is, it's just this space of recognizing we are a child of God.
So good, Jess. So good, Aaron. Um, let's just touch on this because I know you said at the beginning you didn't quite like using the concept of God. You used creator, but you have been used it a lot prolifically throughout this interview. And I must say, I do resonate because I avoided the word God for a long time when I, was referring to, the universe or the creator because of its religious connotation. Now, you said that also you were a little bit into religion as a child, and now obviously, you've come through to a very spiritual God. Can we just give a broad definition of the difference between a religious God and a spiritual God that you're referring to now?
Well, the way that I look at, so yeah, my upbringing was very, I guess, always very spiritual. My parents never really got me into church, but they wanted to, they did create a foundation. The foundation for me was, my dad said, make sure you're able to look yourself in the mirror the next day for all the choices that you made the day before. So just really owning your own responsibility. And when I went to church and when I did hear the word God, the way that they painted it was this something that was outside of me, that wasn't part of me. And this is the biggest thing if you want to say religious God compared to spiritual God. And I do speak very comfortably and I do say the name very, very strongly because the way that I feel about it. But I do know some people still have a feeling like when they say God, they get an image of this person or this thing that's outside of them. But for me, when I speak about it, I know it's part of me. I'm not the one. I'm not the God, but I am my God. I am a part of God, and it is inside of me. And that's the biggest difference is knowing that we're a part of this and we're not a victim of it. And we're just not just, I don't know, we're just born and then we die. And then we're just a little grain of sand in this crazy ball, this spinning ball hurtling through space. It's like, there's no purpose. So for me, it's a very holistic thing when I speak about it. Even Jesus, it's very holistic. I don't, if I ever say Jesus, it's not like a guy out there. Jesus is the truth, the light, and the way. It's not a him, it's a what. So God is not a him, it's a who. It's the energy. Like I said earlier, you put a magnet on the wall or on the fridge, it doesn't fall off. God is magnetism. God is inside of us. God is creation. You see it in the pine cones. You see it in every bird, every bee, every flower. With Earthly Mother and Heavenly Father, the expression of what God is continuous. So that, to me, the difference between a spiritual God is knowing that we're part of him. He's part of everything. It's part of creation. It's not anything that's outside of me. Religious God is something that I pray to, and it's outside of me, and nobody could become that, and I'm always something less than that. There is no hierarchy. There is no hierarchy. We all have had different journeys, and we all have gained different gnoses, but one being is not more important than the next, because each one of us is here doing our part to create this reality. So it's needed. Every one of our experiences is needed. So we should not have any judgment on anybody. We cannot have any judgment on anybody because they're a fraction of us. They're just a part of who we are. They're not all of us. Just like I'm me, but I know, like, inside of me, I have God in me. My mom would, like, me and her would have these crazy conversations, and she would always tell me that God's not inside of you. And I was little. I'm like, yeah, I feel like he is. I feel like something's inside of me that's not me, that I don't know what it is. So that would be my explanation or my definition of the difference between a religious God or a spiritual God.
I love that clarity. Thank you, Aaron. Now, well, let's get on to what I think is one of your favorite subjects, food. So I know we could probably do a whole show on this, but we've got about half an hour left in the show. So just to put it in perspective, what is the most important thing to be said about food in relation to the healing journey?
Well, we are gifted this vessel, and either we can drive this vessel around as a broken down vehicle with wheels that are falling off, that's barely could run, and we could sluggishly get through this existence. Or we have a choice to treat it like a spaceship, to treat it like the Enterprise, to treat it like the race car that it is. So if we want to fire on all cylinders, if we want to make these connections of this electrical being that we know that we are, if anybody's done any research on kid development, knowing that thoughts are developed by thought, and we create these pathways through our body and know how to move our finger like this only through thought and electrical pulses. Our body is so capable of so much more than we could really even imagine, but we just haven't fueled it correctly. And this is where I take out the food and replace it with fuel, because food is very tasty. Food is an experience that you have with others. Food is something that is part of this world. Fuel is what our body's looking for. Fuel is what our body turns the food into, because our body is not looking for food because it tastes good. Our body needs fuel like a race car. If we want to fire on all cylinders, if we want to get through this space, and I don't know, I want to see what the limits are. They said, oh, we only use 10% of our brain and all this and that, and there's different allegories and stuff like that. But I want to know what my body feels like firing on all cylinders. So I've raced cars before. I know that, like, even from like a high performance car that you could buy from a dealership is a lot different than a custom built trophy truck going through the desert at 120 miles an hour, just running at top speed. There's a huge difference. But the fuel also, you can't put regular gas station gas in a race car. It doesn't run. You have to detune it. You have to make all these adjustments to get it to use that fuel, and then vice versa. So the fuel for our body is glucose. And that's what our body's looking for. Our body doesn't know it knows what to do. It converts. It takes a lot of energy to take all this other matter that we put in our body to convert into fuel, but that's what it's doing. It's constantly converting anything that we're putting in our mouth, calling it food, into this glucose, which it's the fuel for our body. So if I fuel my body with what it needs, then the dis-ease will come out of my body. I'll have ease. And that's what we want. We want ease in our body. We don't want to expel all this energy if we don't need to. And that's how I look at the difference of food and fuel, because don't get me wrong, I still like certain taste. I still enjoy, things that maybe I shouldn't be. I know that aren't optimal for my body, but it's at a very low income or low intake where, for the last 2 years, the majority of my intake has been glucose, has been orange juice. I went on a solid 8 months on strictly just orange juice. I was, I say strictly or most of the time, because there was like mangoes and solid food, and it turned into glucose, and which is really easy for your body. And I had avocados, which are some fats and stuff, but for a consistent 8 months, it's nothing but orange juice, because I wanted to see how my body reacted. I wanted to see if this whole glucose thing was true. My body never felt better during that time. My mind was not clear at any other time in my existence other than that time, because I was fueling my body with what it needed. So therefore it allowed this waste product to start evacuating my body, the mind as well, not just the physical body. Physically I went from about 240 pounds down to 144 pounds, and that was because our body's not designed to hold this waste. It's holding this waste because we keep on putting this waste in. But our natural being is a very slim, very, very sleek body. Our body doesn't retain fat when we're fueling it with glucose. I know it's not always achievable in all these different climates that everybody lives in, especially around the world in wintertime, but we only do our best. We do our best at all times, and then God knows that we're doing that, and then he presents us with exactly what we need to do when we need to do it. So that's the touch on, for me, the difference of the food, why I take it seriously, because again, the clarity. My mom was, again, very, very, it was awesome. She put me into a fast when I was 12. It was the master cleanser, lemon juice, cayenne pepper, maple syrup, the master cleanser. Most people have heard about it if they've done any type of research on it. At 12, my mom, she forced me into it. I was like, why would I not eat? That's so weird, like that, so she really had to force me into it. And, it helped me. I can't say that I felt a lot then, but I know that I did it. And I've fasted a couple times in my growing up as well, just because I was trying to get a hold of my weight a little bit, and I felt some clarity in my mind then. So I do know our mind and our body is 100% connected. The more waste and matter that we have in our body, the same thing goes with our mind, because the way that society pushes food is like, a lot of people use it for, coping. It's a tough day, or this, and let's just go eat something, and then it gives us that satiation. It gives us that that feeling that we're looking for. There's lots of reasons why it's doing that. It's probably not always the healthiest reasons, but it gets us through the day. So it's so
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. And I just know through, the inspiration that over there in Mexico, your soul family there, big Justin and Charlie, inspired me to incorporate mainly fruit in my diet. Still a bit of chocolate, balanced diet, but less now. Now that my kids are out of the home, I've cleared the chocolate out of my fridge, and that helps. But yeah, I mainly eat fruit, except sometimes, something else is put in front of me and, I just eat that. But generally, and it's great. I love it. So when you talk about top quality glucose and you referred to orange juice, are we talking about fruit in general, or is orange juice the premium glucose? Can you expand on that, please?
well, any raw fruit is going to be optimal for our body. It's going to be what our body is going to be the easiest for it to digest. But like anything else, there's a pyramid in through this detoxing or optimal fuel. And what I find that my body likes is more of a liquid base, raw food or raw fruit, the soft raw fruit. But anything that's, the transition, for transitioning, it's anything that's a holistic diet, whether it's vegetables, fruit, that's going to be better than anything that's coming from a package or a restaurant or with labels on it. So this scale that it's very broad, and transition from where we are to where we need to go. Definitely don't listen to me and say, well, yeah, I'm gonna, maybe if you're inspired to do it, you could jump off a cliff like I did and just drop everything and go right to what the optimal fuel is. But for most, it's just not
Not
obtainable.
literally.
And that, yeah,
Not
and we should
literally
honor,
jumping off that cliff. I just need to
but
put a disclaimer there.
but we just need to honor the space that we're in. Like you said, you mentioned that you had kids, and most people have jobs, and they're still wanting to they're still being called to be part of this experience. So all we're doing is moving from one to the next. So whatever that small step is, but having that direct knowledge, that experience, like you mentioned, that you've been inspired through Charlie to kind of introduce more fruit in your diet. And there's, probably been times where maybe you felt better on some things and better and not so much on other things. And that gives us our direct experience, kind of feeling like, oh, yeah, when I do eat that cheese and do have that animal product, or I do eat that, I do feel this way. And yeah, when I do eat that fruit and I do eat that, yeah, I feel a lot better, but I still eat this, that's fine. But you're gaining the experience. You're gaining that direct knowledge, knowing, okay, now I have a little more insight of what my body likes. Now my body's kind of giving me signals that I'm aware of now, that I could see and feel. And that's really what it is we've been so numb with this food, because most of us come from you know, eat bacon, eggs, and cheese in the morning, and a meat and potatoes at night. So like that's what's been pushed so hard. So like there is no judgment on anybody of where they're at all. At all, because I've been there. I've eaten the hamburger. I've eaten that stuff. But once you start gaining this knowledge, once you start gaining like how your body feels, and if you want to feel good, like I was 40 when I turned 40, like I was having a hard time keeping up with my 2-year-old. My knees were hurting. I couldn't get off the ground. I couldn't tie my shoe. I mean, that's how heavy I was. I couldn't bend over and tie my shoe. I had to like lift my leg up on my other leg, and it was even still like I had all these problems, and I was like, I don't enjoy this. I didn't enjoy like the aches and pains. I don't enjoy that. I know other people could relate too, because they probably had more ailments for their whole life. And I know that people don't enjoy that. And that's why they go to doctors, and that's why they're looking for this relief. And this is why it means so much, because I know deep down inside everybody wants to feel good. their soul is yearning to feel good. And it's getting closer to the God and getting closer to earthly mother because they know deep down inside something's missing. And that's having that connection with their own vessel that they're navigating this space in, and being more attuned with it. And if I could gift, and if I could show somebody that experience, if I could share my journey with the food, and as crazy it might sound to some, going, well, you're on just fruit, and how do you survive? And there's a long journey for people, and that's everybody's journey is different, and I'm willing to work with anybody to get them, if they're wanting to. And this is the thing, like, if they're wanting to do something, I'm willing to help and create some type of step, create some type of plan, create some type of awareness, just to have a conversation, or whatever it is, because I know it's difficult. I know the challenges that are in the mind that stop people from doing that are difficult. But I do know, once you start making these steps, once you start making these small little steps, you start building that direct knowledge and that strength that give you that energy inside to say, you know what? I'm going to take another little step. I know it's been a year since I made a step, but I'm going to make another one, and I'm okay with it. And I'm okay with not making a step for a year. And that's really the space too, is being okay with where you're at. And if you're not, make a change, because the complacency is what we need to get rid of. If you're being complacent, then that's where that karma repercussion comes from, because we get that energy inside, we get that signal inside to do something, we ignore it when we push it down with complacency, and that karmic repercussion comes in. This is these signals coming from God that we don't listen to, that we push down again. And this is karma and dharma. When we honor that space, when we say, oh, you know what, I do know this is what I need to do. Man, it's hard, and society's definitely pushing me this way, but you know what? I'm going to make that leap of faith. I'm going to go over that bridge. I'm going to go there where no man's gone before. Because usually it's away from, your most of the time, your best friend's not telling you to do it. Your wife's not, it's like, I'm going to go against the grain and make that step. And once we do, we get that dharma energy. We get that, like, that lift, and we get that self direct knowledge, and we own some of that self responsibility that we're here to do, because nobody's doing this for us. This is another huge thing that's, sold on religion, is the second coming's inside of us. If anybody's just going to sit here and wait for something to happen, and it just here's your aunt, they're going to be waiting a long time. So it's taking the reins, it's taking that self-responsibility, it's taking that one little step and being okay with it, and knowing that, you know what, this is my journey, this is my step. It looks different than everybody else's, but I'm okay with it. And then if anybody else has a problem with it, that's on them. That's their energy that they have to take. Because you know what, I'm good with this, and I know what I'm doing. Whether it's right for somebody, whether it looks like I'm going backwards for somebody else, whatever it does, it doesn't matter. I'm good with it. And that's really what it comes down to, is it is our mind. Because our mind, like I said earlier, what we hold in our mind, we hold in our hand. And if we're always in this dharma, if we're always in this fear, and that's what society pushes, and that's what they sell, that's the world that we're going to create. So just awakening, that's the awakening. So awakening to that reality of knowing that we are manifesting this reality through the thoughts that we have. Why does society push what they push? They push fear. Why is news always boo? It's so draining, because they know it. They develop these tell lie visions to broadcast their spells.
Their programs.
They're programs. And if you do any research and look back to, like, radio waves and all this, they're all programs. Because what Charlie brings up is, there's lots of waves that are healthy for our body. There's one wave that's bad, beta waves. And that's what everything is designed around, is this beta wave. The theta and gamma and delta and epsilon. These are the brain waves that are healthy for us. And what are those waves? Well, you see a kid when they're just happy, and then you see it and you're around the kid and it just brings so much joy to you. That's the healthy wave. That's the theta. That's the gamma. That's the delta. That's the epsilon. The kid's probably an epsilon and we're in theta, but still we get that like the inside feeling like, I don't know why they just bring me so joy. They're just kids. Of course they bring me joy because they're not deeply programmed like that anymore. So I know I went off tangent, but all of this comes back down to one space. It comes back to this one gnosis that we are a child of God. We're not just this lost soul having this worthless sinner experience that means nothing. No, we are in control of this. We have to take the reins, but we have to grab the reins. We're in control of this. We're the ones that have to make this, but it's a beautiful, beautiful existence. Once we know that God's inside of us, and then I know which way I'm going. I'm going to follow the light because the light is in truth. Because everything's based off of truth. If you don't have foundation built off of truth, you're building your house on sand. So the first thing is truth. Find one thing that's true. Know that it's true because you have direct knowledge, and then start building from there. And easy as you have your body as use it as a science experiment. Try the food. Don't try the food. See how you feel. See what it affects. Be more aware of your surroundings. Make notes. Just be aware of this existence that we have, that it's our mind and our body aren't us. We embody this. We share this. It's part of us. It's unique to us. I mean, there's a lot of things that does like, well, what do you mean it's not us? Yeah, I cut myself and I bleed. It's me. Well, yeah, you do have these physical things, but you can't go to the doctor and say, cut me open, doc. I got these crazy thoughts. I need you to take them out. It's not there. So we know a portion of this is not us. It's that true soul that we are that is experiencing this through this physical vessel.
So good. Thank you, Aaron. I love what you said about the food. I mean, we all know when, we've had previous sort of healthy runs that maybe didn't continue, that we do feel better when we eat well and increase our physical exercise or connection to nature, or, silence and connection, whatever we do. And that ties in with what you said about there's no external savior. The journey is internal, because if we want to align with the ascension energies of, let's call it the fifth dimension, we have to feel good, what we know those energies in 5D heaven, whatever you want to call it, are. So when we do the work with the fruit, or with the, our body being a comfortable place to live, I like to say we're literally in the 5D energies, but we have to create them. Would you agree with all that?
Absolutely, because it's in our mind. If we're not really truly embodying that, really knowing that space, it's like the new age community, new age spiritual community where it's all love and light and namaste and this and that, like I'm not not saying everybody, but it feels like they're not really embodying it and they're just doing it for an image. But until we truly start walking down this path and having this direct knowledge, so we could build this inner experience to know that I am a child of God. He has gifted me this to have this experience. There is this Jesus that does exist, but it's the truth. Where is the truth? It's in the light. Where is the light? It's away from darkness. Where do I find darkness? It's putting these gnosis and knowing that I'm in control of this. Jesus is inside of me just as much as God is inside of me. No one else is out there is going to have the answers to all my questions and where I need to be, and the second coming is going to come down and save me, because there's no ownership. And that's why, having this physical vessel, this is part of our journey, is this eucatastrophe of going through the bad to lose it all, to rise again like the phoenix. This is the process. This is the scalar wave. This is the figure eight, where it is magnetism. We come down to the lowest point, like we just had the winter solstice, where for 3 days and 3 nights the sun doesn't move. It rises in the same position in the analemma. If anybody wants to Google, if they never heard of the analemma, it's the pattern of the sun that it makes through an annual year. It creates a figure eight. There's an analemma of the moon as well. Half of it's the moon, where you got the crest, the moon waning and waxing, and then half of it's dark, but it's making that same figure eight pattern, but with the moon. So it's monthly. It's the moon cycle. So it really all comes down to this one thing, is magnetism. One thing that you can't go get a degree in any college. Go look. I mean, you might find some now, but go look. You could get a degree in underwater basket weaving if you want, but get a degree in magnetism they don't teach. Um, Tesla was one of the most recent people that we could refer to that brought, that was introducing free energy. But this technology has been around for thousands and thousands of years. You go look in ancient cultures, and I was always drawn to ancient cultures, even when I was a kid. And I always felt myself being okay to be plopped out in the middle of nowhere with some aborigines, the AB originals, and I could survive. I always felt that inner pull, that knowing that I could do that, and that's where the true, like you said earlier, is, getting connected with Earthly Mother, taking your shoes off and go stand out in some dirt, go hug a tree, go sit underneath a tree and observe it, and truly observe it. Leave your phone in the car, just leave everything, go find a tree and go sit down, put your back against it, and just absorb what's being presented to you. Be aware of the cool breeze that passes by, or the shapes of the clouds, or the rustling of the tree, the leaves in the tree, or the birds chirping, or the smell of the flower. I mean, just the subtle things in life. Slow it down so you could actually recognize them. Because in the city, concrete forest, everything's busy, busy, busy. So that's why, they've created cities. Cities are prisons. That's the biggest prison that nobody knows the prisoners of. The prisoners create the prison, they protect the prison, they love the prison. But it's truly a prison away from our earthly mother and heavenly father. It's not every single person that doesn't see that. And I know there's people that see that put themselves in the cities, but the majority, you could just kind of look back and look at New York, and the majority of people are go, 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 hustle and bustle, never own a car, don't even know what outside of the city looks like. Like, that's scary to me, is not even knowing what outside of the city looks like. So go take off your shoes, go stand in some dirt and see what it feels like. Go see how you feel afterwards. Go hug a tree. Go get some B12. That's why we're so in balance with things, is because we're so out of balance with Earthly Mother. She provides everything for us. And if we tie that to Heavenly Father and control our mind, because Heavenly Father are the thoughts above, Earthly Mother is the plane of inertia that we share this existence on. And we become the child of God. We create that triangle. We actually finish that triangle, and we reunite Earthly Mother with Heavenly Father. But it's only through the mother that we get to the Father. So it's through the food that we get to the Father. It's through the food that we gain our clarity, because our vessel is so close of being us. And right now we've identified with it. We need it. If we don't honor it, we could disconnect from it, and we could die. Whatever reason, we can disconnect from it. But if we honor that space and start embodying these things that we're hearing, and start trying these things out, and really knowing that we are a child of God, we are the pinnacle of his creation. Every last one of us, not one of us is different. Every single body is the pinnacle of his creation. What they've done with their existence is different, but he's created us as his pinnacle of his creation. So if we know that, and then that changes us inside, and we have this feeling of being, and we have this feeling of purpose, because that's what gave me the most amount of purpose, is knowing that I knew there was nothing outside of me that really like gave me like this feeling, but knowing that I know that God is inside of me. I know that Jesus is inside of me. And I know it's my choice, it's my self-responsibility what I do with it. And knowing that it's me. I'm the one that's going to save myself. It's like, okay, I got this.
Yeah.
What am I going to do today? What am I going to do next? Now it's fun. Now that pressure's off. Now you're not this worthless sinner. Now you're not this victim, like, oh, it just happened to me again today. Just boo-hoo me. Like, no, I'm going to do something about it. I mean, yeah, it takes some effort and takes some work. Yeah, you got to do something.
So
You got to do
inspiring.
something.
Thank you, Aaron. Now, we are pretty much on time, but I'd like to give you the opportunity to bring in anything that hasn't yet been said that you think is important to share about speaking to men about the journey into the heart. Anything else that needs to be opened up?
No, just really expanding on what I just said is just really knowing that, and this is, I mean, for men, I mean, we could speak to men, but this applies to everybody. Just knowing that we are a child of God, knowing that we are the pinnacle of his creation, knowing that it is our responsibility to save ourselves. It's our responsibility to dig us out of the hole that we've created for ourselves, whatever that looks like, however that is for each one of us. Just knowing that no matter what, he's got us, and building that trust inside of that, because it might be really foreign for people, especially with people that have a lot heavy religious background, that probably think I'm absolutely nuts talking about this, because their religion tells them the opposite of this. But truly, it's knowing that God is a part of us. Jesus is inside of us. And we are the ones that are going to save ourselves. We are the one that needs to build that self-responsibility. And those are the such key moments that just change the energy inside, because we are a frequency. We are energetical beings. We are light bodies. So if we're holding this heavy frequency, that's what we're going to create. So if we can lighten up the frequency by knowing that I'm a child of God, I'm not a mistake, regardless if my parents think I'm a mistake or not, or they told me I was a mistake because of this event and they just had sex and then I was conceived. No, they're a mistake. No, God had the plan for you. God planned that for you. They were just there as a vessel. They were there. That was scripted. That was perfect. You are chosen. You chose to come down here as a soul contract. How I see it is, we had a, and it's not totally clear for me, and it's more of like, we have this agreement, this sacrifice that we make, because it's always about sacrifice. And even in our soul, we have, we're sacrificing the unity. We're sacrificing, being in the realm of the one, where there is no experience. So there is no bad, there is no good. Yeah, there's no bad, but there's no good. So there's just everything, but there's nothing. So we come down here to have this experience, but knowing that he chose us. We are his child. We have a purpose down here. And that gives us this inner atonement that brings our frequency up, because now we have purpose. Now we're not just this random sperm that just made it past all the other ones. We were the fighting ones, and we were the strong one. No, we were God. God gifted us this. So that would be anything, giving one last word of encouragement, or things to take anybody to pull away from. is knowing that we are a child of God, knowing that we do complete the Trinity, and we are just as important as everybody else. There's nobody here that has any more significant role than one another, because all of our roles are unique to our own journey, and they're all as significant as one another.
Beautiful message. Thank you, Aaron. So where can people find you?
Um, so like I have turned off a lot of my notifications because the Telegram, whatever, people will just, you become slaves to these things. But people could find me on Telegram. That's probably the easiest. I do, I have other accounts, but I'm more than likely on Telegram the most. I do have a personal channel, which is, well, I'll find it in the show links. AaronXjesse is the handle. I forgot what it is. Switch on Truth, or Switch on Truth is the community that I have. So anybody who's willing to join that or is able to join that. I do have a YouTube channel. Everything could be found under AaronXjesse. I don't do much on the YouTube. So it's mostly just the Telegram if somebody wants to reach out and, for the food or to talk or to share their journey. I'm open for anything. I definitely work more on, somebody's wanting to go down this journey. So if people are reaching out, I'll take the time and I'll stop what I'm doing and provide them any length of time that they need from me, for whatever that is. So that would be the easiest way of tracking me down. And I do know I also have a link tree that has all my other links in there, that Gemma could share, that will be down in the show notes as well. So you could poke around there and see what I have in there. But if you want to directly get in contact with me, um, you could do that. And then also my email is AaronXjesse777 @gmail.com. That would be a direct email to me, and you could do that as well. And like I said, it might take me a day or two to respond. I don't have my notifications on. I check it periodically, definitely once a day. And then it might take me a day or so, depending on my schedule, to respond and stuff. But I always will respond to everybody, and make time for anybody, because I'm really wanting to be here for anybody that's willing to just have faith in this gnosis, and have faith in knowing that things aren't as what we thought they were. And what does that look like? So if it's just sharing and talking for 15 minutes about I don't know what, I'm fine. Or if it's going on down this food journey and wanting some more advice and come up with a plan to, from some transitions or some meals or some fasting or hear my experience, I'm open for anybody's time to do that as well. So
Amazing. Thank you so much for your service to humanity, Aaron. And what an amazing show. We've touched on so many topics. I'm sure that I'll be inviting you back for a Man Speak if we can zone in on one subject to open up. So I'll plant that seed and I'll definitely be back in touch. I want to thank you very much on behalf of myself and our audience. I've loved this show. And for everyone out there, thank you for watching. I will be back in a few days with another episode of Heart Warriors.
thank you.
Aaron.
Yeah, thank you very much, Gemma, for an amazing host, and everybody that's going to be watching this. Again, thank you for taking the time and watching this, because I do know that all this is this part of Ascension, and this is where we're going. So I appreciate you, Gemma, very much for allowing this space to be held and have this space available for people like me and others just to share their journey and coming on. So you're very beautiful. Thank you very much.
Oh,
I
my
love you.
absolute pleasure. Lots of love to you, Aaron. You could just stay on and we'll get a title for the show. All right. Bye, everyone. See you soon.